What motivated you to become a doctor?
The medical school is a very challenging time for a doctor. We are working to help patients. We are working to improve their lives, to take care of their illnesses and all that. I need to be healthy in order to make other people, feel their best or look their best.
There's all these biohacking tools for skin. You have red light therapy.
Yeah.
You have this and that.
Yeah.
How effective are those?
Let me start with hair. Red light cap that I use, it's called using the cap to stimulate the hair growth,
Right.
to reduce hair fall.
Right.
I have seen that it does work.
Yeah.
People are doing their own thing, and I feel there is nothing better than being happy in your life.
True.
And if you're happy, then everything else falls into place.
Happiness is a choice.
You can choose it, absolutely. Choose to be happy.
Yes.
In whatever way that makes you feel, but choose to be happy.
Welcome to the Odds Fitness Podcast. I'm Asad Hussain, your host, the founder of Odds Fitness. And today we have Dr. Ishan Sardesai. He's young, he's dynamic, he's energetic. He's the new face of, how this upcoming space of facial cosmetic surgery is going to look like, because that's who he is. He's a facial cosmetic surgeon. He likes improving people's appearances and has deep insights on how people can, slow their biological aging and look better when it comes. So, before all of this, I would want to know what motivated you to become a doctor?
It goes way back. I guess I was always interested in biology in school.
Yeah.
And that's usually where it starts for us. So we get into, once you're into bio, either you choose something in the medical sciences or health sciences or anything biomedical. Usually that's the trend. And along with that, I used to watch these TV shows like Grey's Anatomy and stuff.
Yeah,
and I'd be
yeah.
like, oh my God. It's
House
so-
MD.
House MD and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
I'm a bigger Grey's fan. I still watch it, by the way. It's on season 21 or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff, and then just decided as a 16-year-old to get into medical trade, like coaching for medical school, and got in. That's one of the biggest challenges for us. कि वो exam clear करके फिर वो you enter medical school.
And achievements.
And so वो कर दिया हमने, and then I just went to medical school, started MBBS, and yeah, that's it.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Very-
enjoying the ride.
Right.
Yeah.
And, because India needs this new generation of doctors to be, because, there's a lot of AI and, I heard somebody saying that, kids are, just bypassing everything by going on ChatGPT and all of that.
Yeah.
Do you have any comments on that? Do you think that that's shaping how newer doctors could maybe...
I think so, because I think a lot of my colleagues who are now in different fields, all over medicine, they are coming onto platforms like Instagram and YouTube and explaining the true science behind a lot of the stuff that we see online.
Yeah.
That trying to promote health awareness, actually present facts. And a lot of them are doing a super good job at it, because now with the availability of ChatGPT and AI, literally everything is available to anyone on their phone. You Google something and you come and talk about that online or to your doctor.
Yeah.
So it's our responsibility and our duty, and I think a lot of us have realized that also, to present the facts, to do our own research before we put anything out there. And I think we're doing a good job. It's a new kind of way of doing medicine,
Yeah.
through social media and all.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of us have a good presence on social media, and we're doing some good, like fact checking and presenting, real information to the public.
Right.
So it's a new thing. I don't think maybe 20 years ago I don't think this was happening so much.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was happening in a different way. I don't think it was happening on social media as such at all. So I think we guys are doing a good job at it.
Right.
And hopefully, my hope is that, anyone who's looking for any kind of medical information just checks the source, who exactly is giving them the information, what are the credentials of that person, and only then they, take that seriously or take that forward. That's what I think.
Yeah, because now you have this entire, bunch of people online who lack credibility.
Yeah.
They're very good influencers,
Yeah.
you could say. I'm not saying that necessarily you need to be qualified as a doctor to make a remark on something. Of course,
Right.
there's freedom of speech. But then, of course, it is really important that you as somebody who's that responsible, somebody who has that much reach, you can impact so many people's lives. You should really, really know where that fact is actually coming from.
Exactly. I think especially you can be a health influencer. I guess anyone can be a health influencer on Instagram or whatever. But just I would say be careful about what you put out regarding health.
Right.
Because it's impacting someone's life.
Correct.
And you don't want it to, when we guys put something out there, I was just telling a patient yesterday, in fact, there's an accountability factor. If something goes wrong, who's responsible? So we take that responsibility whenever a client or patient enters our clinic.
Yes.
Without that accountability and just, putting any random thing out there, I think it's a risky game to play.
Right.
So,
of course.
yeah.
You were telling me about med school.
Yeah.
And, doctors back in the day, because there have been so many doctors right in the very seat that you're in who have Dr. Chandrakant Pandav. He is the iodine man of India. He's, I think, in his pursuit to fix the iodine deficiency problem of India, his, research and all those things, he's also sort of not looked after his health. He said these exact words sitting right where you are. And I think a lot of doctors in the past have done that.
Yeah.
So do you see that changing? Because when you were telling me about,
I was telling you about medical school.
Yes.
So, medical school for most of us is a very challenging time, especially the residency, super specialty times and all those kind of things. Because, we're working these long 36-hour shifts. Sometimes we're skipping our lunch, dinner. Our sleep patterns are affected because we're on call at night. I noticed personally, and I'm sure many of my colleagues have also noticed that, I've spoken to them about it, how it negatively impacts our health. It leads to things like chronic stress, which shows up on the face, as we were discussing, as early signs of aging.
Yeah.
But apart from that, it also leads to, a lot of mental, people feel depressed sometimes, or you feel anxious. You're constantly trying to please either your senior colleague or your senior professor, and it's a hard time. And we end up compromising on our lifestyle. I know a lot of people, who end up either putting on too much weight during the residency or losing their hair. These are all things which are tied to stress, chronic stress, and not taking care of ourselves. We often don't get a chance to work out. We don't get a chance to plan our meals or our calorie intake, like we were discussing.
Yeah.
Our sleep cycle, as I said, goes for a toss. So the medical school is a very challenging time for a doctor. It's, we are working to help patients. We are working to improve their lives, to take care of their illnesses and all that. But often as young junior doctors in a medical college or in a hospital, we are somewhere compromising on our own lifestyle and our own, health. And that is something which I think that we are getting more, at least I am getting more aware of that now as I'm getting a little older, the importance of my own health. I need to be healthy in order to make other people, feel their best or look their best. So, especially in the cosmetic world, it all depends on how I look and how I, what my kind of look is. Because that's what the patient is getting his or her own inspiration from.
Right.
You can't be running a cosmetic clinic where you're doing treatments like body contouring or doing treatments like facials, but you have bad skin, or you have a protruding belly or stuff like that. They're they would want you to fix yourself first.
Right.
So yeah.
100%. And I think that extends to many other doctors as well.
Correct.
Because doctors sacrifice so much. It's the Whoop it's called the caregiver's stress. And when I'm sure when you're a doctor, you're also an empath, and you're also understanding the patient's perspective, patient's pain.
Completely true.
And that sort of wears down onto you. And if you're not stress resilient yourself, I think it takes a toll on your own.
You're so right, Asad, because I've noticed that it was like in our hospital, it was not just about giving the treatment, but also about counseling the relatives, dealing, getting consent forms before surgery. Those things are very heavy things for the patient and the patient's family.
Yes.
So it does play an impact on our lives as well. And I think that we have to learn how to deal with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now getting into your arena and your, your expertise and domain.
Yeah.
So when people say that, you look tired or, you've aged suddenly, Is it a superficial sort of phenomenon that's happening on the skin, or is it something that happens from the inside out?
I think it's a mix of both. Like, of course, the skin gets impacted by things like lack of sleep, poor diet, lack of exercise, chronic stress. These things do show up on your face in terms of early signs of aging. For example, you'd see maybe darkening under the eyes, or more wrinkles on the forehead, or developing fat on the abdomen. All these kind of things
Yes.
can show. But also there are certain things like those who do use a good consistent skincare routine. They're disciplined with their skincare, or they come to clinics and do their regular medical facials, or skin booster injections. Some people even start Botox at a young age. Those things do help to offset the superficial changes of aging. But along with that, as we discussed, we do need to fix ourselves from within to prevent those signs of aging from becoming more prominent, and also for our treatments to work better.
Yeah.
So let's say if you do a regular skincare routine and you have a good lifestyle, your results will definitely be better.
And they'll last.
And they'll last longer.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. So that's the kind of balance of both.
Yeah.
What you put into your body as well as what you apply on your skin.
Right.
So this is the what I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you see some people who look younger at 50
Yeah.
versus some people who look really old, even in their mid 30s.
Yeah.
What's sort of happened there, like at a superficial level? Do you say genetics or?
So genetics does play a role.
Okay.
Along with that, I would say there are certain environmental factors. There are those who are more exposed to things like the sun.
Yeah.
They do tend to age faster. There's one, when we were training, there was this photo that we were shown of a truck driver, and he was driving his truck, and there was the sun hitting the right side of his face,
Right.
and not the left side of his face.
Oh, wow.
Because he's driving on this side. So this side of the face where the sun is hitting, there were more development of wrinkles, sunspots, more signs of aging. And ये वाला side जो है, जो थोड़ा sun protected side था,
Oh, wow.
it looks better than the other side. So the sun is a big factor, and sun protection is a vital factor to prevent yourself from the signs of aging. Along with that, I would say those who start maybe preventative treatments a little bit earlier in life, like they do their good skincare routine, they come for their regular medical facials, maybe start things like microneedling or collagen boosting injections, things a little early age. I would say maybe even in your late 20s or early 30s, if you start those things, you do see an improvement in skin quality compared to someone who's not done anything in their 40s and 50s. So I
Right.
tell my patients that I'm like, if you start now, you will thank yourself when you are maybe 10, 15 years older.
Right.
Because that's when your metabolic rate really slows down. The signs of aging tend to become more pronounced and stuff.
Right.
And the other thing is that if you genuinely take care of your body at a younger age, which means I recommend to my patients at least 30 to 40 minutes of regular brisk walking, some kind of physical activity, whatever is comfortable for them.
Yeah.
A good balanced diet where you're getting in your carbs, your fiber, your protein. You are, not overeating and all those kind of things. You are minimizing your smoking, minimizing alcohol, because these alcohol and smoking, of course, it is part of the party culture or whatever that is happening right now, but it does age you.
Yeah, 100%.
It does age you,
Yeah.
especially smoking. Smoking slows down your metabolic processes. It impacts your wound healing, reduces the amount of collagen in your skin and your face, and so I would say that it's a balance of all these things. So whoever is able to find that perfect balance of a good skincare routine along with a good lifestyle definitely looks a lot younger compared to someone who's not doing those things when they're 50. And of course, along with this, the environment and genetics does play a role as well.
Yeah, 100%. Because
So-
you'll see, I've seen people go from, who go abroad, they live 2 years in Europe, 2 years in Canada.
Yeah.
And, they look younger than what they went
Completely.
here from,
Like the biggest discussion right now, wherein it's the AQI. Look at the kind of pollution that we are exposed to in all major cities of India, especially in Delhi.
Yeah.
Like there's so much oxidative stress, what we call it, or free radical damage that's happening because we're exposed to this kind of environment.
Right.
And along with that, we in India also, our diets tend to be very, very carb heavy.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a lot of carbs entering our system, and we have sedentary lifestyles. We don't have walking cities, Asad. You know this. We don't.
Yeah.
We don't have like most of us go everywhere in our private vehicles.
Right.
So we're not walking. We're not moving our body. We're exposed to like a polluted environment. That impacts your aging. It's all
100%.
impacting your aging.
100%.
So I feel like these are all things which, I mean, some of it is in our control, some of it is not in our control. Like we try our best to be as healthy as possible. But yeah.
So, even though these factors are against you, at odds, what we do is we try and bring all of this within a safer environment. So
Right.
let's say if you're not able to walk, you're not able to get in your steps and all
Right.
those things, how about getting some zone 2 in the comfort of your home, where you have like an environment control or some control over your air quality.
Exactly.
You've got like nice air purifiers and everything. You can't go out for a walk. You can't go out for a
Right.
run. Now you've got to make do with what you have. It's the kind of problem that you have and the kind of solution you make for that situation.
Yeah.
Like the Middle East has a problem of diabetes, and it also has the problem of a scorching sun. So they have created their systems and processes like
Right.
that. I think when we were solving this problem, the India problem, at odds, we were like, okay, how do we get that physical activity? How do we get the nutrition aspects of it? Now
Right.
people speak about, having very high amounts of carbohydrates in diets. Now, because we go through a lot of, blood values of a lot of individuals who are also, we're correlating that with the kinds of diets that they have. We see that people, the moment they go up on sendha namak, they go down on, let's say, iodine in their
Right.
body. The moment they go up on, let's say, salads, in a bad, let's say, monsoon or something like that, they'll have a bad bout of diarrhea. Right. And that's just how India is. And
Right.
I think the high carbohydrate diet is probably just culture because of these factors. Like, how do you have a Mediterranean diet or a Western diet in an environment like India?
True, understand.
So, and the moment somebody tries to have more protein and animal meat and animal proteins and stuff like that, their, LDL or lipid particles then tend to go up. So to each person, it has to be highly bio-individualized.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what you do.
Absolutely. That's so true that I completely agree with that. This one size fits all doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work in aesthetic treatments. It doesn't work with nutrition.
Right.
I'm sure it doesn't work when you guys make exercise
Not
plans.
at all.
It doesn't
Yeah,
work.
It doesn't work.
And I was talking to, of course, some of your colleagues before this,
Right.
and I was like, what performance enhancing or let's say coaching
Right.
is not just about making a fitness plan or doing a set of reps in the gym.
Yeah.
It goes so much beyond that, right? Like
Right.
there's so much other stuff that you guys go deep into.
Yeah.
Building customized, individualized plans for each client.
Yeah.
I think that's
So when we do this at our end, in our lab, so to speak, we have physiology. Like, let's say I'm 90 kilos. That's a lot of ground reaction force for somebody my weight. And I am going to have either a jumper's knee or a runner's knee if I keep running to increase my VO2 max. Now I know I have to train zone 4.
Yes.
When am I going to train my legs, and when is it going to recover?
Right.
So the training program that I am probably going to have is going to be significantly different from somebody who is, let's say, even 5 to 10 kilos lighter.
Completely
And the volume and the kind of nutrition that person needs.
Right.
So it gets that bio-individualized.
Seriously.
Yeah. But getting back to you, do you think somebody's, how do you say, facial age can be a good representation of their biological age?
It's a tough question. Tough question.
Yeah.
I feel it's just so varied. It's so varied. There are some people who look, I've seen them in my clinic, they look much younger than what their actual age is.
Yeah.
It's usually people who have been taking good care of themselves for many years and all that.
Yeah.
I would say it's too difficult to comment on this because I also feel there's a difference in males and females. Both they age differently.
Yeah.
I feel different ethnicities age differently.
Yes.
Like Indian skin, actually, because of our melanin content in our skin, we actually age better than our Western or Caucasian counterparts.
Yes.
Because they tend to show signs of aging even faster because of the various anatomical differences in their skin, decreased amount of melanin, thinner skin. And they age in a different pattern also, in the sense the way the face ages. So we, in what I've noticed is we tend to put on or lose definition in the lower part of our face,
Yeah.
we tend to get a less defined jawline, jowling and stuff starts in our ages, in our population, and our face tends to become more full as well. We tend, because maybe of our diet as well, we tend to get a little puffy with age.
Right.
In the Western population, we see earlier signs of aging in terms of volume loss, hollowing. We see them develop very deep wrinkles at an earlier age than we do. So
Right.
each ethnicity, each even gender, because women are impacted by menopause, which accelerates the signs of aging. Men sometimes start to see signs of aging when maybe post 40, as testosterone levels start declining. So there are different kinds of things that happen, and it all comes down to a balance between what people are putting on their face, what they are eating, how active they are. It's a combination of everything. So
Right.
I think the facial age is very difficult to correlate with the actual age of the person.
Because
Like,
Brian Johnson's all about, I got this laser all over my
Yeah,
body. This is my photo aging and this and
Yeah.
that. So I was
So-
like, because of this whole trend,
No, completely true. Like what I do tell people is that if you like what I tell them when I'm consulting them for the first time, I'm like, if you do let's say a botulinum toxin, what we call neuromodulation,
Yeah.
for your upper forehead, which means you relax these lines,
Botox,
Botox, you relax the lines around your eyes,
Yeah.
the frown lines. I can instantly wipe out at least 10 years from your face.
Wow.
I can wipe out 10 years from your face. So if you're like a 50-year-old, I can start making you look like a 42-year-old or a 40-year-old if these lines go.
Right.
But again, that doesn't work for everyone, because there'll be some people who have, let's say, these lines, but also have an issue of deep nasolabial and let's say these are called marionette lines. So
Right.
these lines, let's say, are deep for that. So I need to tackle that as well.
Right.
So you need to look at the face in a very holistic way, like what we call facial balancing, facial proportions.
Right.
It's not about correcting just the upper part of the face, but letting the lower part of the face look old. Another common thing which happens is some people have very young looking faces, Asad, but their neck looks old.
Right.
Have you noticed that? Maybe
Yeah.
The face is still okay, but neck pe lines aa gaye.
I always thought they got something done on the face and not on the
And
neck.
not on the neck. Or sometimes they're applying the skincare only on the face or neck ko chhod diya.
Ah.
Another giveaway is the hands.
Right,
Very
right.
popular that I'm doing now in my clinic, working on the hands, because आपका face young दिख रहा है, neck भी आपने काम कर लिया, you left your hands out.
Right.
So that gives away your
Age.
age. So I think whenever we approach any, at least this is my approach, whenever I approach any client for anti-aging, I am looking at the face, neck, body as a holistic thing.
Wow.
It's like we have to make your face, neck, body, everything look proportioned, like everything look young. ऐसे नहीं
Yes.
कि बस एक चीज कर लिया और फिर मतलब it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. I know
So-
what you mean, because I see some girls, and this is really weird,
Huh.
because they'll be wearing dresses,
Yeah.
and they look great from their arms and hands and face,
Yeah.
but then their ankles and knees are complete giveaways,
Also true.
right?
Yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah.
that is so
Also,
cool, man.
one more thing which I like, this ties into this work that you guys do. Sometimes, no matter how much work someone does on your, let's say I work on your face and I lift your face, I sculpt your jawline, I get your neck lifted, I work on your hands also, but you're overweight.
Right.
So then people are like, when I go out, people are not complimenting my face, or they're not complimenting my skin, because the first thing people are seeing is then your stomach protruding out.
Yeah. 100%.
Or you're like, so like it all works in balance.
Right.
Again ties down to lifestyle and the way you maintain yourself.
Yeah.
But there are various giveaways of age.
Yeah.
So
And you got to look the part. Like
You
you
gotta-
can't be like, fresh from your face and not otherwise. Like
seriously,
Yeah.
like, and also people, one thing which I really promote is that there's a combination of treatments that we advise in the clinic.
Right.
If you think that one treatment is going to make you look 10 years younger, 15 years younger instantly, it's often not the case. It's a combination. So just say you do a little bit of Botox for the upper face,
Right.
you do a kind of energy-based devices or fillers to tighten up the jawline, reduce the nasolabial marionette lines. Maybe if you have stretched earlobes, you get that sutured back. If you have a sagging neck, either you do something like a high intensity focus ultrasound. Again, there are skin boosters or there are fillers. I also do a lot of regenerative treatments, like things like exosomes
Right.
and polylactic acid, which stimulate your natural body's collagen to increase.
What about this thing I heard recently, GHKCU? Some some peptide with copper and all of that.
So I do work a lot with peptides. I
Right.
feel peptides are a powerful anti-aging tool, both in skincare as well as in injectable treatments that we do in the face.
Right.
So, and copper peptides are very effective for that. Not only for skin, but also copper peptides I'm using a lot in the hair.
Right.
So
wow.
in even advanced stages of hair loss, I can now do treatments using exosomes, copper peptides, things like dutasteride, which are hormone blockers,
yeah.
to really improve the appearance
So you
of
inject them locally.
inject them locally, because
Wow.
people are sometimes afraid of the systemic side effects.
Dutasteride has bad side effects, I've heard.
It can cause side effects.
Yeah.
It can cause side effects when taken in an oral format. So we've now come up with topical ways to do that, like mesotherapy or microneedling directly in the scalp,
Yeah.
so that you get the benefits of the drug without the systemic side effects. So this is how the field is evolving. We're always looking for new minimally invasive treatments. Like nowadays, I was just reading up yesterday how we've scarless rhinoplasty,
Right.
like nose jobs without any visible scars.
Wow.
Or facelifts now, such minimally invasive facelifts where we're still getting the results that like a full deep plane facelift would give you,
Yeah.
but the scars are so minute and concealed, in the either in the hair bearing areas or behind the ear.
Right.
So there's literally no evidence that you've had anything done.
Yeah.
So
Because
this-
earlier I think it was there was somebody
Yeah.
who I know who didn't get it done because of the scar.
Because
and now
of the
you're
scar.
saying that all these things are
Yeah,
solved.
like minimizing scars is such a huge part of the work I do.
Right.
Like I'm always looking for ways to do things without anyone finding out that anything has been done.
Of course.
So, minimally invasive techniques, or how we can optimize our patient post a procedure or post a surgery, so that there's absolutely no evidence of a scar. This comes down to wound healing, where wound healing is directly impacted by your workout and exercise and lifestyle.
Right.
So the better state of health you're in, the better you recover from a procedure, the better your healing is, and the better your appearance is after the treatment.
Right. Some
So-
people get keloids. Are
Some
you able
people
to
get
manage
keloids.
that?
We do manage a lot of keloids. I also take a proper history of keloids before doing any treatment, because it's something we should be always wary of.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not. It's disfiguring. It causes a lot of. It's hard to treat.
Right.
It's hard to treat. It often requires a combination of injections, like
Cortisone and
steroid,
all.
exactly, triamcinolone injections, along with sometimes surgical excision as well.
Yeah.
So we need to be very wary of keloids and hypertrophic scarring and all that stuff. And it's a big part of the cosmetic world.
Wow.
So we're always looking. I'm always looking. How can I make a protocol which minimizes the scar completely?
Right.
So yeah.
So when you say that, people talk, there's all these biohacking tools for skin. You have red light therapy,
Yeah.
and you have this and that.
Yeah.
How effective are those?
In my experience, red light. Let me start with hair.
Right.
Red light cap that I use. It's called. It's basically using the cap to stimulate the hair growth or to
Right.
reduce hair fall.
Right.
I have seen that it does work.
Right.
It does work, but it does work in combination with either medicines like your oral minoxidil, finasteride, or in combination with treatments that we do in the clinic, like exosomes and GFC and PRP and all these kind of things.
Right.
So as an adjunct, my laser cap for the hair does work. I've seen red light laser cap, it does work. And for the face, also I tell my clients ki if you are doing, let's say, treatments at my clinic, you're also doing your skincare routine. After your skincare routine, if you want to add in a laser of this LED mask, or you want to enhance your results, it works.
Right.
But if you think that just by using the light alone, you can get some really drastic results, no.
Right.
I haven't seen evidence of that yet.
Right.
Improvement, yes, but always in combination with other things.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that is my...
Are there any side effects that you...
just to so one more thing I should
yeah,
add.
please.
One of the other things which I do very commonly at my clinic is non-invasive body contouring.
Right.
Which means this is next generation stuff using emerald laser. It's a green light laser,
Oh, wow.
which is designed specifically to be absorbed by a fat cell. It shrinks the fat cell without killing it, because as you know, fat itself has a lot of good functions in the body as well. So the laser hits the fat cell while you're just lying under the laser. You're chilling, you're lying under the laser. The laser hits your fat cell. A tiny pore is created in the fat cell membrane. The stubborn fat, it gets liquefied and comes out of the cell through that pore. And then we do lymphatic drainage treatments to flush the fat out of the body through the natural excretion processes.
Right.
This laser, I have noticed, and we've also been doing research about this with the companies and sharing it with some colleagues around the world. It has also been shown to stimulate the mitochondria of the cell by stimulating your cytochrome C oxidase. So many of my clients, before they start seeing their fat loss results with the emerald laser, they come and tell me stuff like, we feel more energetic, we feel our sleep is better, we feel we're just overall like more motivated to go to the gym now. Even some people even tell me that their mental fog, brain fog, it also has reduced.
Right.
So we're looking at aesthetics now from a broader perspective. Like, it's not just about reducing fat on your abdomen or reducing fat from your arms or thighs. It's also about making you more energetic, to making you more getting better sleep, and overall having a healthier lifestyle. And my laser, which is a green light laser, low level laser therapy, it's working really well for this.
How deep does it go? Does it go up to visceral
So
fat?
this is mainly for the subcutaneous fat.
Right.
This is mainly for the subcutaneous fat. But what we have noticed is there's a cascade mechanism,
Right.
which means if one fat cell, let's say this fat cell is filled with fat, it starts communicating once it's shrunken in size with the other fat cells around it.
Right.
So the overall fat organ is enhanced or improved, which means even visceral fat. Many of my clients, so we do these three monthly tests of the lipid profile.
Right.
Many of them have reported an improvement in their triglycerides, in their cholesterol levels.
Wow.
So of course, more research is needed. We need to come up with a definitive, what exact guidelines or protocols we can make for that. But there is promising stuff happening.
Wow.
So it goes beyond. That's what I'm saying. It just goes beyond you losing your fat. It's ultimately making you a healthier, more productive person in life.
Yeah.
So-
Because when people, like, they say that we want to go natural, not do all these things and this and that. My single most relevant question to them is, like, of course you want to be natural, you want to keep things healthy, and by no means one
Correct.
must do anything which is borderline illegal or extremely harmful.
Right,
You've got to
exactly.
see the risk to rewards of things.
Exactly.
Even surgical
Any
interventions will have certain risks.
Everything has risks, and I think what I would advise my any client is, check which clinic you're going to, who is the doctor, is that machine the original machine which is FDA approved, or is it some kind of copy which is all over the market. So I would say, don't try to save money at the cost of your health.
Of course, that's what we say every day.
Every day. सबसे best चीज़ है, अगर आपको लग रहा है कि these treatments are out of your budget, कुछ मत कराओ.
Right.
Stick to your natural, either just work out or put your skincare routine and stuff. Don't go for something which is a copy or a fake version, because that can lead to all kinds of side effects.
Right.
So that's the other thing which I do a lot in our clinic is lymphatic drainage.
Yeah.
I think you guys would be familiar with that as well.
Yeah.
It's basically, we have this beautiful machine called endospheres, which works on this principle of compressions along with micro vibrations. And it's very good for things like cellulite, heaviness in the legs, even helps in post-workout muscle recovery. I have some athletes and all coming and saying that, our shoulder is stiff. It's helping in that as well. And overall helps with things like bloating, enhances the results of my emerald laser, which helps in fat loss. And it's a really beautiful treatment. And all of this is super non-invasive. There's no needles or, no downtime, pain, nothing like that. You just come, you get your half an hour, 20-minute session, और आप चल पड़े.
Yeah, I use my pneumatic compression at home.
Pneumatic compression, similar,
Yeah.
of course. So you know the power of lymphatic drainage then.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, I really am convinced. I do it myself also. I do a lymphatic drainage session, endospheres, at least once in a couple of weeks.
And it's all over your body.
It can be done all over your body. So some people, our treatments, we try to make it, either you do a targeted treatment, like let's say I want to do only for my abs or only for my arms, also possible, or you do it for full body.
Right.
Even very beautiful for the face. I think one thing earlier that you mentioned, which I didn't mention it then, like, it's the skin is showing signs of aging, but the problem is not with the skin. The problem is with the underlying muscles and the underlying bones and ligaments and facial structures.
Right.
So there are these facial fat pads, for example, which descend with age. They shrink and they descend with age.
Yes.
They are responsible for maintaining our face integrity or structure. As they descend, we end up getting the kind of hollowness or wrinkles on our face, but the problem is not with the skin. It's with the facial fat pad below.
Right.
Even the muscles, as we age, our facial muscles, they lose their tone. They become less active than they were when we were, let's say, in our 20s or early 30s.
Yeah.
And that also shows up as aging on the face. So
Yeah, it
when
does.
we do treatments like our lymphatic drainage, we also work on toning the muscles of the face. You tone the muscles of the face, you end up improving the facial structure, and the skin from outside looks better.
Right.
So this is the kind of
Right,
new
because
stuff.
when we use pneumatic compression, we just use the one with the legs.
You only do it for
Yeah,
okay.
we do it with legs because then it's not just lymphatic drainage.
Blood circulation.
blood circulation. So you have all the blood coming upwards. With a lot of sedentary people, they have a lot of venous pooling.
Right.
So
Right.
we just tend to help that because it helps with overall circulation. And,
Right.
From a longevity standpoint also, I think it's a great tool.
I think it's a beautiful tool. I think lymphatic drainage is a beautiful tool for longevity.
Yeah, I think so.
So, and it also helps, I have noticed a lot of my patients feel like if they do it on their abs, they get a nice metabolic detox, improves their gut health, and they deal, bloating, water retention, things like constipation, these things are much improved with lymphatic drainage.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right. A lot of these aesthetic clinics, they're giving out all these GLP-1 drugs. Some of them also, the first thing they'll do, put somebody on metformin.
Yeah.
Do you think metabolic health and these medicines sort of help with aging as well?
Okay, this GLP-1 is super controversial. You know this. It's like everyone is like, because they claim that it's an unnatural or easy way to lose weight and all that stuff. I feel GLP-1s, at least in my practice, we do prescribe GLP-1s to the correct candidate after proper blood tests and all that stuff. It is helping in improving people's, not only their weight, but people are saying they're feeling more energetic. People are saying that they are feeling like it's helped to cut that food noise out completely. And when we've done their repeat blood tests after 3-4 months, it has shown a very good improvement in a lot of things like insulin resistance, in lipid profile. It has shown improvement.
Yeah.
So yes, I think GLP-1s work. Of course, they have side effects. There are the most common that I see in my clinic are gastric side effects, which means people have things like indigestion, nausea. Some people have a little bit of bowel disturbance. There are people who have muscle loss. You would be familiar with this. But I do think that GLP-1s work. They just should be combined with a change in your lifestyle so that when you get off your GLP-1s, like you taper them off, then you're able to maintain that weight.
Right.
Because you don't want to be fully dependent on that GLP-1. The moment you stop it, all the weight's coming back.
Right.
So that is like, these are things that we should keep in mind with GLP-1s.
Right.
And also, I do recommend that when I do GLP-1 to any patient, I tell them, you can lose weight, but weight loss is not equal to fat loss. This, I guess you guys are preaching this all the time, right? Like weight loss is not equal to fat loss. So I'm like, okay, your weight will come down with the GLP-1, but please focus on something which also improves the shape of your body and prevents your skin from becoming loose, keeps your muscles toned. That's the kind of stuff that we focus in the clinic. So आपका weight तो GLP-1 कम कर गया, but हमारे clinic में आपका we'll make sure your muscles are toned, we'll make sure your skin is tight, and we'll make sure we give you inch loss and fat loss as well, targeted fat loss.
Right.
Which means that the specific area in your body where the fat is more, we focus on that.
Right.
So I'm sure you guys are telling people this, right? Like, isn't fat loss the goal and not weight loss? Like,
yeah, we do, but we can't tell them that how to target fat loss from this and that area. That doesn't work in our.
True. Okay, I
it
get
works.
that.
It works in your space because even if you do a surgical, if you do something like liposuction, it's quite possible, with body contouring and all those things, you can do it in that aspect. But, I've seen that some people still, even after that entire episode of getting rid of all the fat, they're not improving their lifestyles.
True.
And when they don't do it, then you have weirdly distributed fat in your body. Especially I've seen that a lot of people who try and get rid of their subcutaneous fat, they end up getting a lot of visceral fat because they don't improve their lifestyle. They don't change the way they eat.
You see this probably in post-liposuction patients as well, right?
Because if fat has gone, then your body doesn't have adipose tissue to store the rest of the fat because your fat cells are gone. Right. And now where does it go and store? So at the very available sites, which would be your visceral fat.
Exactly.
So I think that if you combine a lifestyle change, okay, fine, you need momentum, you want a quick fix, do it. But if you don't fix the core problem, which is why you were obese to begin with, and why you were, maybe not in a healthy space, and that extends to the GLP-1s as well. Use it as a tool to modify your external factors. Change the way you eat, the way you look at food. And create those systems and patterns over 6 months.
So true.
Once you have that baseline foundation, then of course, then do whatever you want, but do it within limits. Do it like maybe once a week, not as, like we spoke about earlier, the theory of reflexivity, where a person goes like, okay, you know what, I'm watching Netflix, I'm going to only watch Netflix for the next 6 days. Understand it's Saturday.
Yes.
That's it, dude.
Yes.
Like, not after that.
I would say, tying into what you're saying, I was thinking about this while I was on the way here. I
Yeah.
would say the biggest tool for longevity and anti-aging is discipline.
Right.
If you have discipline, no matter if it's discipline in terms of your eating, discipline in terms of your skin and hair care routine, discipline in terms of your workouts, if you have discipline, in fact, it ties into our work also. If we're disciplined
Yes.
at work, we're more productive. Discipline is the key for me for any kind of anti-aging and to live longer.
Right.
So if people understand that you can, and it's possible. Of course, you build up to it. It's not an overnight change to become a disciplined person. But if you're able, and also mental discipline.
Yeah.
You know, if you have your thoughts and your mind and all in check, I think you can live longer. I think it's the key.
100%. And
you guys work a lot on the mental
we
side
work
of things.
on, we see a lot of mental problems these days. And
Right.
when I say mental, it's significantly different from psychological.
Right.
You know, because it ties in.
Yeah.
You have your brain, it's supposed to function in certain, like it's supposed to get its delta sleep, it's supposed to get its theta unwinding routine,
Yeah.
it's supposed to get its alpha,
Yeah.
pleasant state situation, and then of course it needs to get into beta and gamma to create things, right? But we see across a lot of people with a lot of EEG data that their brain is chronically in a space of they're trying to get some delta, they're underslept, they're chronically underslept.
Right.
And if you'll see in the West, people don't have much to do after evening. They
Right.
try and get to bed sooner. It's not like you have a repeated late night back to back and then
Correct.
get up,
Yes.
work.
Yes.
And I've seen people sub-perform. They don't perform optimally as well,
Right.
The only way we have been able to stay ahead of this entire, longevity game in this country especially is because we actually advocate adequate sleep time and adequate rest time and flow states. Once you have that, only then can you create solutions to problems.
Right.
How do I get a person to listen to what I have to say or my POV? Somebody's a trainer. Now, unfortunately in India, most people look at trainers as some creatures who have, absolutely committed their lives to exercising in a gym.
Correct.
And
That's all they think that the trainer is.
yes, like why would I relate to somebody who's, committing his entire life to
That's
exercise
all he's doing, yeah.
and not building his future or, my problems are different.
Yeah.
But then how does a trainer solve that? By creatively understanding how to be an empath,
Yeah.
how to understand the person's POV and not trying to make a statement or a remark, trying to prove himself as right, which determines his point of view.
Exactly.
And how do I make that person have some autonomy in his decision making?
Completely right. I feel that's so important, because otherwise I've noticed this with my clients at my clinic also. Then they get turned off from this treatment.
Yeah.
If you're trying to force your opinions onto them, कि ऐसा करोगे तभी होगा, नहीं तो कुछ नहीं हो सकता.
Right.
Then they immediately take a step back and they're like, dude, this guy is not for me.
Yeah.
Trying to understand, I think this is where medical school training, where I was in Manipal, it really came into my help for me. Trying to understand from the patient's point of view.
Right.
What are they coming to you for? Try to meet at a middle ground. Don't enforce your thoughts or your opinions on them.
Yeah.
This is what I feel.
Because people want control over their lives, right?
Why
and
not?
If
And
you
why should they not have control?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And so then how do you remodel something like the SDT or the trans-theoretical model of behavior and change by Prochaska and all these things, and how do you combine those to make something impactful?
Yeah.
So how do you use those terminologies and how do you come up with your own model relevant to this context with regards to maybe a housewife, with regards to maybe a aging person who doesn't like too much change, and how do I give them the kind of motivation and momentum and make them feel as if they have taken that decision themselves.
Correct.
It takes a lot of creative thinking.
Yes.
And I'm assuming, I'm not actually assuming, actually I know for a fact because we work with very creative people as well. A lot of people who are businessmen, designers, creators, artists, they need that gamma beta state of their minds.
Right.
And if they are not getting adequate sleep,
Yeah.
they will not be able to perform.
No, completely right.
And the body is beautiful in many ways.
Yeah.
Now, even if somebody pushes themselves to perform, now what do we see? How do you create that performance? How do you awaken the brain to reach a state of beta and gamma? You start producing more adrenaline, you produce more catecholamines, you produce more stress hormones. And because of that, of course, you'll get the task done because you've created that level of arousal in your body.
But your body is in a constant state of stress, right?
Yes. And then because of that, you see poor aging.
Absolutely.
You see your body is not able to recover.
Yeah.
Cellular health goes for a toss.
Yeah.
Blood sugar levels go up because of
Yeah.
cortisol. You see people who are not able to have gut issues.
Yeah.
Now they're saying, okay,
Completely.
you have gut dysbiosis and all of that. Of course, you will have it because your body is not getting the time for peristalsis.
Absolutely.
That happens when you're in the parasympathetic.
Yeah.
So I think, how do you take all of that and integrate it with the right kind of stress with physical activity, considering that person's actual stress?
Right.
Whether it's family stress or work-life balance or whatever it is. And that's actually the strength of Odds Fitness. And that's why we've been able to, help, I don't know, thousands of people improve their lives and lifespans. Yeah.
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 So, and I think that people also want to live healthy now. People want to live longer. They want to live healthy lives. I'm sure especially the younger generation, we are mostly concerned about our health.
Yes.
Most of us are concerned about our health.
Yes.
I think that's a good thing.
It's a good thing, and I think that's also an indication of how our nation has developed now. Because we came from partition, scarcity, grandparent scarcity, carried forward to our parents, and now this generation is like, you know what? I just want to do a good job.
Yeah.
There are many who have come, many who have gone.
Yeah.
Like you said, like the small things give you happiness.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. I believe that, like, my belief is that life itself is a gift, and there's nothing more important than health. Each moment, experience, all memories, all are it's a blessing.
Right.
And for us to be able to live this life in a beautiful way, and for us to experience the challenges, get through the challenges of life, experience the good times of life, I think we need to be conscious of our health. Like, it's the basic thing. And I wish this for, I want to be healthy, and I want everyone around me to be healthy as well. Because the moment you're healthy, in all ways, this is mental, physical, social health, everything, I feel like you are just a happier person in life, and there's nothing more important than happiness, right? And we were discussing, if I'm able to find happiness in the small things in life.
Yeah.
Things like a beautiful sunset,
Yeah.
or the chance to have a good meal,
Yeah.
To experience a beautiful holiday. These kind of things are gifts, and I think that if you value these small things, you'll also start valuing the importance of your health.
Right.
Because that's what enables you to experience these beautiful moments in life. You want to be healthy, you want to be happy, and you want to live a good life for you, for yourself, and for the people around you.
Right.
That's what I think it's all about.
Yeah. When to put things into perspective, I always ask whoever it is, because we have worked with a lot of high performance individuals. Like, okay, you know what? Tell me the name of your granddad. I think Mr. Kumar Birla was the only one who was able to recall all the way back up to his great-great-grandfather.
Right.
But besides that, not so many. So I don't know what that endless, search for is.
Yeah.
Of course, you
Exactly. Like, what is that the endless thing of, I want something more. I don't get it. I feel like it's such a beautiful thing to be content with what you have in life.
Yes.
No, I'm not saying don't have ambitions, have dreams, you want to do big things in life, of course, but be content with what you actually have as well. And that if you keep that glass half full, it's always a good way moving forward. I feel. I tell this to my clients as well. I tell them that if you think that, even if are you looking better than you were looking before you came to me?
Right.
That's a step forward.
Yes.
I'm not saying I've erased all your lines, I've made your face completely lifted. I'm saying no. But when you came to me, compared to now 2 months later, are you looking better than you were looking before? And if you're looking better than you were looking before, then it's a step in the right direction.
Yes.
And that is seeing the glass as half full. Don't chase each line on your face. Each line, actually, some lines, as they say, they tell a story and all that stuff. So don't chase every line on your face. Remember that if you're better than you were yesterday, it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. 1% better every month.
1% better, even point, जो भी है, but आप आगे बढ़ रहे हो.
Right.
So that's what I think is something that we should keep in mind.
I'm so glad that nowadays the younger generation
are thinking like that.
They're thinking like that, because it is evolution in a way.
Yeah.
Right? It's very needed. It's very important.
No, I feel we get it through experience also. Like there was a time in my life where I felt like I was not happy, because I always felt, अरे ये नहीं किया, अरे but that guy is doing this, I'm not doing that. He's doing this surgery, I'm not able to do the surgery as well as him. You're constantly comparing yourself, competing with others.
Yeah.
as I've, I'm not old, but as with experience, I've realized matured. I've realized that there's no happiness, there's no winning in that. There will always be someone who's doing something.
There is no end to it.
There's no end to it. And I have now got this thing कि उसका भी घर अच्छा चलना चाहिए, मेरा भी घर अच्छा चलना चाहिए. वो भी खुश रहे, मैं भी खुश रहूं. Why do we all have to be on the same path or do things the same way? You know,
or better than the other person.
Or better than the other.
Just do better than yourself.
Just do better than, exactly. Like the biggest competition should be you yesterday. If you want to compete with yourself and all that stuff, but competing with others, it's a never-ending game.
Yeah.
I feel that's just, and there's, especially in the medical field, there is a strong sense of competition, Asad, which starts when you're 15.
Yeah, I know.
Comparative exam, you know, that who is topping, you're checking your marks on the who's doing this, and then later on it's who's got which college, who's got which seat, who's doing which surgery, who's not, you know, it's just never ending. So it's always best to be in your own, in your own lane. I think live your life the way you want to live by your own rules, and be happy for others. And I think if you're happy for others' success, that's the best thing.
Yes.
So
it's an attitude.
Yeah.
And
completely.
That is very important for your health.
Absolutely.
Not that, you know, somebody else is going to benefit. You're going to benefit most out of it.
Yeah.
You know, because when you're thinking all these upsetting thoughts, all that stress and all those matters of self-doubt, that's self-debilitative.
Seriously.
And it will impact you the most. You know, even if you try and do better than this person, that person, think 10 years back, who were you even trying to compete with? What were the most important things for you?
Yeah.
Everything changes with time.
Yeah, and also I feel like the world is a very large place. We tend to think that everyone is talking about us, everyone is concerned about what we're doing. No, people are on their own. Everyone has their own journey, and it's a very large world and a large number of people who are on doing different things. So give yourself less importance.
Yes.
And just
that's why I tell everyone to travel. That
opens up your mind.
You go to Thailand, you have their own, you
Seriously,
know,
I love Thailand.
Reliance, Birlas, and this and that.
Seriously.
You go to Dubai, they'll have their own version. You go to the US, UK, everybody has their own.
Everybody has their own thing.
Yeah.
People are doing their own things, and I feel there is nothing better than being happy in your life.
True.
And if you're happy, then everything else falls into place.
Happiness is a choice.
You can choose it, absolutely. Choose to be happy.
Yes.
In whatever way that makes you feel happy, but choose to be happy.
Right.
So, yeah.
Good stuff, man. It gets philosophical
as well.
With the science geeks, huh?
Oh, you also science?
Yeah, big time.
Okay.
Big time. So, my formal education is in exercise and sports sciences.
Nice.
And I specialize in clinical exercise.
Okay.
So, you know, exercise and interventions with health and all those things tend to be part of my domain. So, I study how over decades how exercise impacts your life, and that's what most of my research is about and is going to be about as well. My PhD is going to be about that. I've already decided that. And especially in the Southeast Asian population, for which we don't have much normative data.
Right.
Yeah.
Do
you have any questions otherwise?
I wanted to just focus like a little bit. I wanted to ask you about, okay, so what exactly you would say is the difference between just a simple personal training compared to a performance enhancing coach or a performance coaching? Like, what all do you take into consideration when you meet a client the first time?
So,
like, let's say
you know, when we meet someone, we first want to understand what.
And you guys, you guys do it all home based. This is all at a home, or it's
home or wherever you are.
Okay, wherever you are.
Because we eliminate self-motivation to be able to get to the gym.
Okay.
That on its own is, you know, for the longest time, I met Jamal Sheikh. He was the editor of Men's Health. Now I think he's got Esquire and all these brands. And he says, you know, gyms make most money from the clients who don't end up coming.
Right.
You know, and that on its own was pretty messed up in a way. You know, there's nothing wrong with it. You know, people running gyms, they have their own business models. They try and help, and everybody is responsible for their own things, right? And we were like, okay, we want to take the opposite approach to it. We're like, we only make money when we are able to get that thing done, and only for task done.
Right.
And then we want to solve that problem.
Right.
We don't want free money. We want money for impact.
Right.
And fine, you know, for the economics and everything, will be slightly more expensive because it's tougher, because it's also more creative as a thought process to motivate the client, to make that person understand why you should get these number of sessions done. But then that is more purposeful and rewarding, and that's why odds exist.
Right.
So when we analyze a client, we sort of try and understand what is most important for that person.
Okay.
Is it aesthetics?
Right.
Is it performance? is it longevity? And sometimes we see an overlap between longevity and aesthetics. People want to live longer, but they also want to look good,
Right.
because of how society is in
Right.
general. It's
Absolutely.
fine, and of course they want their health.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest difference between somebody who works out at odds and somebody who works out otherwise is that we have a huge pool of talent, which actually on every single day basis analyze and inspects what a client's health parameters and, let's say, aesthetic parameters are about. Now, since you belong to this field, maybe you'll appreciate what we think as, let's say there's a lady who has more visceral fat, right? And she probably might be skinny on the legs, on the arms, but has a belly, right?
Right.
What do we do to enhance her aesthetics, right? So we want to work with proportions.
Right.
We want women not to have bulky arms.
Yeah.
We want them to have
Toned arms and
toned arms, lean arms, slender, strong arms, not like abs, like, blocky abs, which a lot of hyper fitness people have and women have, because that on its own makes your core look pretty
bulky.
right? And then where are the parts where you want mass? You'd want mass on your gluteus medius, maximus.
Right.
You'd want them on your hamstrings, on your calves.
Right.
You'll get away with it. What you want is you want slender shoulders, tight, low body fat in your arms. You want slender waist, and you want strong hamstrings, not even quadriceps, because your quads will make you look a little more masculine when, so to speak. But hamstrings you can get away with.
Right.
Does it create a disbalance and an imbalance at the knee joint? It does.
Right.
But it is important to be able to manage that. Right? Now, odds goes even a step further. It goes like, okay, how do I maintain endurance and strength in the quads and get hypertrophy in the hamstrings?
Right.
So then you have stronger muscles.
Right.
Right, even in the quads,
Absolutely,
which at a neuromuscular level are able to contract more effectively and not create that problem at the joint, but have the aesthetics as well. That's the kind of detail that we go into.
Right.
So many people, when they go and train, they go like, okay, you know what, I want to do this also. I'll do animal flow, I'll do boxing and this and that, and then what? In the end, you're left with this disproportionate masculine body, which was never their goal to begin with. They just did it because they wanted to lose fat, but
ended up being something
else, and you wanted to remain feminine.
Right.
Now, this is a very small example. Now, when we go for, somebody who's coaching somebody for, let's say, aesthetics in males, it really depends on the kind of POV your trainer has.
Right.
Now, your trainer will determine, and just because he's convenient and easily available, doesn't mean that, you should train with that person.
Right.
The person's POV, if he's a bodybuilder, he'll end up putting bodybuilding thoughts in your head, because that's the kind of conversation you're going to have with him.
Yeah.
And if a person is, somebody who's into performance, into sport, that's the kind of engagement you'll have. But at odds, we have people from various schools of thoughts, respecting every single person's individuality.
Exactly.
So we have people who do practice bodybuilding, but also know how to have a client work in zone 2 and zone 4 for endurance.
Right.
Even though it might not be for that person, right? And he knows that this is what this client particularly needs for better metabolic health.
Yes.
So I would say, the difference between what a trainer and a performance coach would be. A performance coach would also have a mindset and an ability to impact the way you think and understand what's more important for you. A trainer would be a specialist and an expert who knows their subject matter really, really well and can make you do the exercise that they believe is right.
Right. Completely aligned with that. I feel that's so important, similar in our field as well.
Yeah.
Trying to understand the person's specific face before you make a treatment plan and not go by something which you've just read in the textbook.
Yes.
Similar to what you
Yeah, very important.
It's like you build something exactly for that client.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Right.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Good stuff.
It was great having you, Dr. Ishan. Amazing. I had a great chat with you.
Thank you, Asad. It was so good. I think you're probably the first performance-enhancing coach I've met in my life.
Okay.
So it was super fun, and I think we talked about quite a bit of stuff.
Right.
And hopefully we make a difference in this wellness, longevity, aesthetic space for many years to come.
Yes, I hope so too.
Hope so.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Cool.